Hi everyone. Apologies for the delay. We had some technical challenges which delayed our live today. Nonetheless, let's get started. Today we have got two fabulous women to talk to us about equal partnership in parenting. We have got Sharmila Pandey, who is the founder of Step Up Parenting. She is a wellness expert and a parent coach conducting workshops on wellness and equal and positive parenting practices. She's an MBA from IIM Calcutta, a cost accountant, and that was my daughter. So coming back to Sharmila, she is an MBA from IIM Calcutta, who is a cost accountant who has worked for many years for companies like HUL, ICICI, and CRY. She has retrained herself in developmental psychology from the University of London, is a parent group leader from Incredible Years Program USA, a mindfulness and pranic healing practitioner. She also does one-on-one counselings and healings. Welcome, Sharmila, to our program.
Thank you. Thank you, Shweta.
We also have Manimala with us. Manimala has 13 years of corporate experience in branding and marketing. She's the founder of Mums and Babies and is passionate about parenting. I'll cede the stage to these fabulous ladies to talk to us about how to have equal partnerships.
So, hi friends. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you all about equal and positive parenting. Sorry for the delay, but these things happen. Okay. So, equal and positive parenting are very important components of parenting. Nowadays, many women are working full time. We are studying harder, and then we get into jobs. We work in the corporate sector, or we turn entrepreneurs. And then, as society, tells us, we get married. And then soon after that, we find, society putting pressure on us, saying, "Ki start a family, bacha kab hoga." I don't know if any of y'all have seen a WhatsApp video that went around about the Ambani family that they had sent to their daughter-in-law when on her birthday. They said, "Happy birthday. Now, when are you going to make us, dada, dadi and all?" Quite crass, but it just says what family thinks about us, right? So then you end up giving up work post-baby and, trying to juggle between getting back to work, household work, and things like that. So that's one set of women, right? And why I took this first track? Because that's what happened to me, right? So 30 years ago, when I actually went for the IIM Cal interview, one of the panelists asked me that, "Why are you coming for this interview? My wife and me, we are batchmates. She did this MBA with me, but now she's at home looking after the kids, dancing, singing. So it's a waste of a seat." And I remember at that time I was just 20 years old, and I'm this firebrand woman. And I said, "You are a bad husband. You didn't allow your wife to have a good career. You didn't give her support. And I am not going to allow my husband to do that to me." And as the story goes, I got married right out of campus, married a batchmate, had kids, 4 years down the line, stopped working, but then came back to the corporate. And I will intersperse this presentation with my stories. So it doesn't happen that if you have babies, you drop out of the workforce for some time, it's all lost. Because just to go to the other end, as she said, my last job was with Unilever. I worked with Sanjeev Mehta, the CEO. So in his office I worked. I ran scorecards for him, for India, for South Asia. It was a large job. And then the scorecard that I created, we called it Selfie. It was actually taken up by Unilever globally. And they have duplicated that globally in all their different countries. So it's not that I dropped out, 4 years into my job and then, my life just finished. So that's what I just want to leave with you all. The other is some of my friends who decided that they don't want to get married. So they lived in, or they had, they got married later, they had kids much later. So they had their career and then they decided to take a break. To some extent, on the career path, it was easier for them because they had already established themselves and then they moved into consulting roles or they continued with their companies. But with their kids, they were older, less patience, and and by the time the kids have grown up, my kids are 26 and 24, so I have finished my parenting journey, at least one-on-one with them. But many of them, I actually have a friend who's got a 4-year-old kid and she's just starting out, so I don't know when she's going to end. So which is good, which is bad, no idea. Each one has their own parenting journey. So the second part, actually, what happens is, when you are married for a longer time before the baby comes, you all are sharing work. The husband helps in the household. But when the baby comes, actually everything changes. Whether you've got married earlier, you've got married later, you suddenly find that from an equitable relationship, you all move to a totally unequitable relationship. It's inequality of crisis proportions. There is this book, I don't know if you all have read it, called The Second Shift. It was written 30 years back in 1989 by Arlie Hochschild. She found that even though the women were joining the workforce, what happened was that they were working and then they would come home and do the second shift. I'm sure you all know what the second shift is about. Many of us are doing that. And 30 years back, she actually found that women were working an extra month more than their husbands because of the second shift that they were doing. In India, some of us are lucky. We have servants, mothers to help us. But the story still is that we are still unequal. We actually asked people how it, helped them, what has happened to them in the journey. We'll talk about it as we go along. So her most memorable phrase was, she said, these women talked about sleep the way a hungry person talks about food. So have any of you all faced that? Are you all sleep deprived? Do you all feel that you all could sleep more? Or on the other hand, you all are so tired that you all are sleeping much more, or you all are sleepy during the day. If that is happening to you, I think you'll need to go back and talk to your spouses saying, we need a more balanced life, right? So even though, the parents, the fathers are stepping up now, they are helping, so I can't say that. Many fathers actually want to help, but they don't know how. So we will talk about how the fathers can help. To this, I remember this story about Indra Nooyi. I'm sure you all know who Indra Nooyi is. She was the head of Pepsi. So in one of her interviews, I think in 2014, this interview was there. And I still remember this 6 years down the line. She talked about 14 years back, she got a call from the existing chairman and CEO of the company. And he called to tell her that, we are going to announce you as the president and put you on the board of directors of Pepsi. And she was like, wow, for her moment in the limelight had arrived, right? From where she was to where she had reached. So she decided to rush home to tell her family about this great news that had come to her. So she rushes home, parks the car, rushes into the house, and she finds her mother there at the end of the steps. And her mother says, oh, you've come home early? Okay, we need milk. Why don't you just rush out and get some milk for us? And she was like, I have to tell you something important. Her mother says, nothing more important than getting milk, because tomorrow morning we don't have milk. And that's how then she goes out and she says, what about my husband? When did he come back? So she says, he came back at 8. So she asked her mother, why didn't you ask the husband? She says, oh, poor chap, he's tired. It's okay. And she said, what about the servants? Obviously, she had servants, right? She works till midnight. And her mother was like, oh, I forgot. Doesn't matter. You just go and get the milk. So she goes, gets the milk, comes back, tells her mother about this job, right? And her mother says, it's fine. You are a CEO outside, but at home, you are a mother, you are a wife, you're a daughter, and then you are a CEO, right? And that's what society tells us all the time. And I just wanted to, just bring this up, saying that even 20 years down the line, it's not changed. And it's brought to me even more because this morning on the IIM women's group that we have a lady called Deepa Krishnan, a fantastic lady. She talks about various things. She did a survey on unemployment in India and actually women participation in the labor force. And she finds that 3 out of 4 women are not there in the paid labor force in India. And now with COVID, it's going to get even worse, right? And hence, I feel that this is such an important topic because she says that even educated women like us, okay, we enter the workforce and then some of us have babies and we drop out and we now get 6 months maternity leave. So many companies are unwilling to hire us because they feel that it's a large cost, especially MSMEs and, small organizations. So if you see the graph on parenthood, where we talk about how parenthood has changed your career journey, many of you all are saying the same thing, right? 44% had to step back from high pressure roles. 28% had to take a career break. And this is exactly what Deepa is saying, right? Some of you may not even have babies, but till you all get babies, you are looking after your elder parents, elder care. You're working the household. So it is not balanced. I think except for 12% of the people who said they were able to step up their game post parenthood and 16% who said there is no change in their career trajectory. I think we want more women to be in the yellow and the green zone, right? So we will give you tips on how we can do equal parenting so that the next time we create this graph, we find that people who, had to step back from career, high pressure roles and all are a tiny percentage, or it's just for a certain period of time and you go back to your full-fledged careers. So now COVID is happening. It's actually now the bugbear of all the ills that's happening to you. Okay. So let's visualize our life. Okay. So you think no nannies now, except if you're lucky enough to have a full-time nanny. So the part-time nanny is not there. So you are holding the baby or a young child with you. You're holding the baby in your hand. And on the other hand, you're trying to make either food for the baby or you're doing dusting or doing these 100 chores that are there in the house. And suddenly you find your phone is ringing. And you look at the phone and you find that it's your boss calling. And you are like, shit. You know why your boss is calling. She's calling to find out whether you finished the PPT that was due this evening, but obviously bosses want more than you can deliver. So you gingerly pick up the phone with the baby in the other hand, crying. And she's like, where is the PPT? And you are like, yeah, I will give it to you. And then you just find your mind goes blank, right? In all this, you are thinking, now where's the husband? So you go looking at the husband and you find him sitting nicely. Many of them, that's what your survey says, are sitting and doing their office calls, oblivious to the fact that there's a crisis at home. Find your mind. So what is your reaction? You scream, you cry, you feel sad, you want to kill your husband. I've been hearing so many women saying they want to kill their husbands. So before we all land up in jail, I think we need to practice equal parenting, right? So we've already done this thing of taking, like I have done, taking less challenging roles and then coming back into full-time work, part-time work, consultancy. It's not a bad thing. Let me say that. because I don't want you to say that, Sharmila said, go back to full-time working. I was very happy taking care of my kids. I loved it. I thought we were bringing up two, future kids, people who are going to lead the country. And I have two boys, so I realized I need to do more work, get them. So I did gender neutral parenting, got them to work in the house, do household work. Manimala, on the other hand, decided in the early years not to take time off, go back to work because she had very good health. She had her mother with her. And it's only later, when her child was much older, that she decided that she needs to spend time. So whenever you take the break, whatever it is, it's your personal journey, whatever works with you and your spouse. The only thing is that you need to be cognizant of the fact that you are making this journey, the role that you need to do, the role you need to play. So, even in that interview, Indra Nui said that we are not superwomen. We can't do all the roles equally. We cannot be a mother, a wife, and a career woman equally. Somewhere we need to compromise. Where the compromise is your personal choice. But once you do it, be happy with it. But obviously, get support from everyone else when you go back to your career. So are we all ready to join the equal parenting journey? Please message us your views on the chat, right? As we are doing, because in the end, we will answer your questions towards the end, right? So now we say, yes, we are ready for the equal parenting. So what is equal parenting? So in this book called Shattered, Modern Motherhood and Illusion of Equality, Rebecca said, men and women must come out of their corners, meeting somewhere in the middle to share all the responsibilities and pleasures of life. So that is something we are going to talk about some more, and pleasures of life. Together, we can create a more equal society of which we are all proud. So, as Shweta said, this is our mission. I am Sharmila and Manimala is there with me. And we thank Shweta and the Lean-In team and all of y'all for joining us to share our views and take this parenting journey forward. Because what we want to create is an equal society where we are true partners. We have a word in our culture called Ardhanginis, right? Where we are supposed to be equal partners in all facets of our life. But somewhere we have forgotten that. So let's go back to that Ardhangini time and join this movement for equal and positive parenting. Manimala, would you like to say something before we go on?
No, nothing much. I think that's what we are here for, to tell everyone, what equal parenting is all about, how if as partners, if we can be partners in every sphere of life, not only about parenting, everything about the home, the career, the personality, if each one supports, develop the other one, I think we create two better people and better children and a better society. And I think in the long run, it also impacts, the economy at large. So that's how I see it, instead of having one at a pedestal and the other, in the not at the same level, creates a lot of issues, right from physical to mental to emotional. So we are excited, Sharmila and me, extremely passionate about parenting, extremely passionate about getting it right. And that's why we have partnered together so that, we can bring the best to all of you.
Yeah. Thanks, Manimala. So exactly. So that's what we want to do. We want to create that equal this thing. And it also works on the children, right? Then you create positive children. They also see what's happening in the house. They are picking up from that, right? So that's where we want to talk about. So this is what we are saying. This is the magic we want to create. We want women who are able to juggle careers, family, house, with others. Because if you try being the super mom, superwoman, it works, but how many of you all are actually happy? Mentally, emotionally, okay? Think about it. You know the answers. Think about it in your mind. So most of the time, internally, it's no. And Indra Nooyi says it very clearly, for the world to hear, right? To the outside world, it might seem like a perfect family, everything in place, but stress levels inside are sky high. Ask me, I know so many of my friends who, outside they look like this super successful women trying to juggle everything. And, you see the Ma Durga with her 10 hands, but that's not the way we want to be, right? We want to have partners, and we want to create more successful women, more people who can, go through the glass ceiling and have more representation in the board of directors, CEOs of companies. We want more of that. The reason I'm actually so passionate, my first job was actually with ICICI. So ICICI has a lot of that. There were lots of women, and Vagul, the chairman at that time, had talked about how we need a work-life balance. We need to work till 5:30 and then go home at 5:30 and look after our families, have me time, we time, family time. And he said that unless there is a crisis, please go back and have a different life. But I think, that life has changed. This world that we had created for ourselves is totally different. So this COVID time is giving us the pause, telling us we can do things at home, we can share work, and this is the perfect time for us to create equal relationships. So what we are proposing is the gold standard of parenting, where both parents are equally involved with their children, shouldering the responsibilities of household chores equitably, both given the choice of pursuing their respective careers, because many of times the choice is not given. The husband says, okay, I'm working or I'm earning more than you, you stay at home and look after the kids. So pursuing their respective careers with equal gusto, and each having enough me time. I will keep stressing this me time as I go along, because I think that is the crux to equal parenting. So what we need to do, we need to create an affidavit of equal parenting. We need to create a playbook where we write down what are the different facets of our life. So if you see in the presentation, we have 4 facets. One is our careers, one is the household chores, childcare, me time, and as Deepa actually said in her paper today, there is one more, which is elder care. So elder care is the other facet. So we need to ensure that we work, both of us, the husband, wife, we work equally in this, sharing the responsibilities, sharing the jobs. If you all have any other, facets that need to be taken care of, please tell us and we'll add it to this. We are actually creating an ebook on equal parenting, and we've asked you all for your email IDs, which you all have shared. And we are going to share that ebook with you all, which will give you all step-by-step how to do equal parenting, age-wise, for various age groups, right? Now, as we are talking about, I keep talking about me time. Why am I talking about me time? Because the me time actually has an influence of all the others. How happily you do the childcare, household chores, your career, and everything else. Many of you all have even written to us, we don't get enough me time, we feel guilty about me time. So that's why we have a full slide on me time. So if you see, except for 20% who say, I make dedicated me time for myself every week. Everyone else does it as and when. Now, this to me is the secret sauce to equal parenting. We need both of you all to have equal me time, because if you do not have the time, as we said here, to reboot and recharge every day, we are going to be so stressed that we'll not be able to do our jobs, and then it goes against positive parenting, right? We shout at the children, we don't want to spend time with them, we are tired, we want to get away with them, we want them to spend more time with nannies and other people, right? And then also it leads to a leaky pipeline, because you all are so tired, you all don't know what to do. At some point you all say, forget it, it's just getting too much for us, and you decide to step back, either take a lower level job or work from home, or just give up the job, right? So we want to also, fix that leaky pipeline. So that, by the way, is my Ardhangini, by the way, my husband, who's taking the dog for a walk. So let me tell you about chores. And so before this, so just to digress, before this, we just had another session where we were, IM Women, we were getting together. So my husband had to go and buy vegetables. The vendor had come in today. So he asked me what all vegetables, how many kilos, what all to buy. So I told him, just buy half kilo of this, X, Y, Z. And I said, don't buy, bell peppers and salads, because we have a lot of that. I go out after my call and I find that that's what's got into his head. He just bought bell peppers and salads because he just heard the last part of my speech. And then,
instructions are so important.
so I realized, I told him, I said, okay, sorry, next time I'll make a list. So even though I'm giving you all gyan, I decided just not to do that. So please, 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 when you give instructions, please do it, because I think half the time they don't listen. Okay. So that was my sharing. So though I should say that he is sharing it with me. So let me tell you how we are doing the sharing of the chores. It's just the two of us. My one son is in US, one son's in New Zealand. So they are not there. It's me, my husband, and the dog. Okay, so he's just taken the dog for a walk. So household chores, how have we divided? I do the cooking. He does the cleaning of the kitchen, washing the, bartans, everything. We have a dishwasher, so he loads and unloads it. Clothes, he totally takes care. I don't see anything of that. Okay, the dog, I sometimes take for a walk. So that's the baby, the child care. I give the dog Zoe food, and I take her for a walk sometimes. So we share that. And hence, at the end of the day, we have similar me times. Okay. And we also, now we've realized that we need to do we time. So that's actually the sixth facet. We need to create we time. And we did a survey with y'all, and we found that many of y'all are saying that y'all need a lot of we time. Nearly 80% of the people said we actually need more we time. Okay, so how do we go there? Now that's how we said. See here, if you'll see the responses in brief, spend more time with kids, quality time, the spouse to spend time with me, see everywhere. Share the load at home. See the graph for yourself. And you'll know what other women are saying. So we are all in the same boat, right? So the thing that is there that I realized is we are actually talking about careers, which is a great thing. That's a learning for me, because we thought we are not talking about careers. So it's a great thing that we are talking about careers, but I think it's just being left there. It's just a talk and we are not executing. So what we are going to do is we are going to help you execute the career goals that you talk about, right? So how do we do that? So One is we need to create that affidavit of partnership. Before that, we actually need to initiate the equal parenting talk, which some of you all are already talking, but you need to write it down. You need to write down what each person is going to do. Create a playbook. We are used to doing all this at work, right? Even at work, we ask help from our co-workers, we lead teams, we do a lot of that. But I think moment we step into the house, we are a different persona. We feel our husbands know what to do. You know, they will help us if they see we are stressed. Doesn't work. Ask. I think we need to ask for help, right? So that's what we are saying. We are saying initiate the equal partnership in parenting talk, discuss sharing of work in all the 4 quadrants, and then create a timetable, which can be daily, weekly, monthly, depending on how much you love Excel, right? And how much you love to bring down the chores. But even if you don't create a timetable, I think you'll need to write what are actually the chores that are there in the house. You will now, if you talk to your husbands, you will really find that they know what is the work at home. For many who are not working, or, you know, you would say, what does a housewife do at home? She's just spending the whole time at home, not working. Now you realize what all she's doing at home. So unpaid household work and childcare work is never, never, never going to be looked down upon, I think, after this COVID period. I just hope so, because sometimes we have bad memories. We forget when life goes back, but please don't forget. So the first thing, list the chores, okay? Color code it, put images, we'll show you how it is done. We just are saying, I'm just telling you what it is first, right? Pictorial for kids, color coded for mother, father, helper, you know, mother-in-law, father-in-law, mother, father, whoever, right? Create clear guidelines, create a playbook. There'll obviously always be last minute juggles, right? It's never written in stone. So you cannot say, this is your time, and hence I cannot do it and not adjust, right? Life is always about adjustments. We do it at work, we do it here. And finally, please get the children involved, because many of y'all are asking how to get the children involved, how to do positive parenting. This is the biggest thing. This is life skills. And corollary to that, don't, you know, this thing, the house help. Say that, you know, they are servants or whatever else. My children call the maids Masi, which is aunt. Okay, so that's the respect they give the servants, and hence these people do all they can to, you know, help my kids. They are the ones who keep asking, "Bacche kaise hain? What are they doing? How are they coping on their own?" and things like that. So whenever you are doing all these chores, get your children involved, teach them life skills, teach neutral parenting. It's not that the girls do this, the boys do this. Many of you all have young children. So start it young, because that's the best way to do it. Your husbands are also young parents. Your spouses are young parents. So if husbands are watching, please, you know, take these away from them. Be help to your spouses. And the other thing is, even if you write these chores, my advice to you, swap them once in a while, because then you learn what it is to be the other person, you know, because sometimes we think that, oh, that's a very easy chore, like, you know, putting out clothes or things like that, maybe an easy chore. But once you actually put out the clothes or fold the clothes, you will realize what it entails. Or giving the baby a bath or putting the baby to sleep. You might think it's a very easy chore, or keeping the baby occupied. So swap and then find out what works. And you women are, I think, some of the best brains in the world. You men are some of the best brains. As you do these chores, you will learn hacks. You will learn how to do them better, faster, quicker. And then you'll find that life moves much easily, because when you do the same job again and again and again, you just get bogged down in the details and you just can't do out of the box thinking, which is why even in companies we get in outside people to give us, different views. We have consultants. So use your partners as consultants. Yeah. Sometimes when you're bathing the baby, we would say, okay, let's do it together. Once in a while, it's great to do it, but sometimes just do it one by one, so there is no duplication of work. So this is how we've created one for baby and childcare. So Manimala has done this. So Manimala, would you like to talk about this?
Yeah, I think this is just a dummy timetable that we have created for baby and childcare. This is targeted towards the kids so that they also are involved in their own care and they understand whether the mother is doing a certain part or the dad, and hence their day routine, their expectation, so they understand that okay, today dad is going to take me to the school, or tomorrow the dad is going to feed me the dinner, or mom is going to put me to sleep. So the expectation of the entire household, right from the husband, the wife, and the kids, are all in sync. And that I think helps, everybody to plan the activities around these chores. So these are just few of them. I think if you just, take a print, put it on the refrigerator maybe for the kid to, understand. So it becomes a kind of a routine for the whole family, and you can keep changing them on a weekly or a monthly, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
And
So for
and as Sharmila again said, nothing is written in stone. So it's not like the dad was to take to the school today and he can't. So that doesn't mean you pick up a fight that day. But yeah, we adjust. We set the expectation. He needs to tell you well in advance that he can't be taking because he has a call or an urgency. So that's how I think, as we say, equal parenting all about respecting the other. So if you can't do it, you need to respect that the other person also needs time to adjust to the change in the schedule, and hence it keeps all of you in track. Similarly, for the household chores, you can just, it's fun also, so the husband knows, okay, it's my turn to cook tomorrow morning. So he plans it out. So it becomes a fun activity as well as help the other person chill, relax, or take up some other chores at the same time. And I think running a household becomes fun.
Yeah, so that's what. So we did a survey with you all, and we asked you all, how are the husbands helping, especially during the COVID time. So I found that four people have said, which is 11%, have said that husbands don't help at all, whereas two have said husbands are the primary person doing household chores. So well done. And similarly, for baby care, three said, husbands don't help at all. One said it's the primary caregiver, he is the primary caregiver, and the rest were in between. So that's also great. So we know that there are people who are reaching this thing where the husbands are more involved in the house, in childcare.
That's really commendable, right?
Absolutely. I was so glad when I saw this. I was thrilled. And the other thing I was thrilled about, and which I mentioned before, saying that there are career talks happening. So people are very happy with the fact that they are talking, about their careers. But finally, what they are doing is, what needs to be seen, because it's not getting translated into reality. We are talking, but it needs to now, be put into action. Okay. And they were talking about me time. So most of the people said, as I said earlier, that there is no me time, but most of them want we time. So that's the new thing, right? So now just linked to this about, the parenting part, I was saying that we think we are super women. We also at some point think that we know our jobs very well. We were born to it. And we have this tendency to criticize our husbands, our spouses, whichever way. And we are sometimes overzealous. We want perfection, right? You've heard about helicopter parenting and perfect moms, super moms. Someone actually asked, how do I know if I'm a good enough mom? So we'll tell you how you're a good enough mom, right? So I loved it. I just thought that that is the best. We need to practice good enough parenting, because there was a study in Sweden done by Mary Evertson, Boy, and Ehrman, where they were trying to track parental leave from the fathers and the mothers. And they found that the fathers want to be involved. But what was equal parenting was important to both the interviewed parents. But the dialogue I loved the best was, motherhood ideals may stand in the way of achieving it. So I want to keep that thought with you all, saying that let that not come in the way of, equal parenting. We want perfection. We strive for perfection. We think if we've not got perfection, we are not good enough. That whole imposter syndrome that is there. You all have done sessions on that. So let's not get, bogged down with the imposter syndrome, right? Let's be good enough parents. The fathers are just getting into this role. We have carried the babies with us. So, for 9 months. So we have a different relationship with them. Though when I was asking in the groups for equal parenting stories in my IIM groups, I found they were actually like these fathers. There were some fathers in the group who said that the primary caregiver is actually the father, and the mother had the guts to say that I am not a good enough mother. I think the father is a better parent. So for some of you all, maybe that is the way forward, because we don't like to give up that thing that the mother has to be the best parent or the better parent. Let's be good enough parents and let's take on an equal role. So we've talked about creating these timetables. Okay, now we've talked about when you have a child and when you have smaller child, this thing. What about prenatal? When the child is not born, when the mother is carrying the baby, the father feels that, I don't have a role there. How do I do equal parenting at a prenatal stage, right? Some of you all are in that stage. There is lots that the father can do, right? You can do a lot of your we time. You go with your wife for a walk. You talk to the baby. You listen to music. The baby listens to the mother's voice, listens to your voice. You take care of your wife. Take care of the household work, because now she's not able to do that. So actually at that stage, a father can actually take a much larger role than the mother, at least in the household chores part, because the childcare part is no longer there. So where the career, mostly you all are working while you all are pregnant. So the careers are equally important. There is no childcare. So ensure that you all share the household work, or the fathers take a larger part in the household work, so that it is then finally, equalized later, because the mother is taking care of the childcare part, feeding herself so that she feeds the baby, de-stresses so that the baby is no longer de-stressed. So she's doing a lot of things for the childcare there. So actually it's not true. The child is there in the womb. So there is childcare, but the mother is taking care of that. The father can help in the house. And please talk to your child. You will. There are so many studies that show that the babies can hear in the womb. The music they learn are, these kind of things they can relate to. So talk to the baby, spend time with the baby. So then what are the benefits? We've already talked about it in brief. So there is true partnership. You understand the other's point of view. Fathers form meaningful relationships with their children. We've talked about all this, right? The children learn that both fathers and mothers take care. They learn that they also need to participate in the household chores. So that's positive parenting for you. They learn life skills. They learn that This is not mother's job. This is not father's job. This is everyone's jobs, right? Also, with both careers, you spread the bet, right, of earning. In this time where you don't know who's going to have a job or not, both need to be earning to take care. So it's a time where both need to work. So if you share the work, the more reason for the mother to continue in the paid labor force. The child also gets to experience the masculine and the feminine side. See, we are yin and yang, right? A girl is made of yin and yang, as is the boy, right? We just think that a boy should be like a boy, and that's what society says, and a girl should behave like a girl. Not true. I have 2 boys. As I said, when my younger one was young, he used to actually play with Barbie dolls till society started making fun of him. So it's something that comes naturally. So don't kill that. Forge deeper bonds, and that's when you will have peace in the house. So before we go to the, your questions, just one last thing. Companies also need to, step up. And perfect time, COVID has happened. We work from home. So we've realized that we can't work flexibly. We don't need to go to office all the time. We've been talking to companies about this before, but they were not ready for it. And I said, we used to work in Unilever. We used to have a thing that we could take one day off and do work from home. But not too many people would take that work from home, right? So we can do that. The other thing is affordable childcare, because nowadays childcare is so expensive that some of us can't afford that. And paternal leave. We need to do that, because instead of increasing maternal leave, 6 months, I have my views on that. I like the 3-month thing, because then the woman could go back to her job. 6 months is a little longer break. So that's my personal view. And hence it's difficult for MSMEs and startups to, employ women, especially young women who are married. They think they will just have babies and go off the workforce. And hence we miss out on getting different viewpoints. And for the society, the benefits are greater family stability, richer community life, and obviously we stop the leaky pipeline. So as you can see, I can go on and on. I love to talk, right? And so what we've left with you is just the beginning of the journey. There are lots of things to do. You need to break it down. You need to have conversations. You need to work out the chores. We can again do another session later on, which is more focused on how to do it. So
now let's take some questions,
yes,
Sharmila, because we have received a lot of questions.
Yes, so that's what. So we are going to the questions. So yeah. So let's talk about the question. So we talked about husbands helping. We've already covered that. We said that, husbands support us, but they go away. What can be done about it? So the first thing is, as we talked about, have timetables, have rules set, because they need to understand that. And don't renegotiate every time, okay? As Manimala was saying, your husband needs to give you notice. But sometimes you don't need notice. It happens at the drop of a hat. Okay. And couples fight. Someone asked us about fighting couples, whether it affects the child. So we are saying, yes, it affects the children. Do it away from them, but sometimes do it in front of them so they learn how to handle the fights. They learn problem-solving skills. And I think we've done most of them. Me time we've talked about. Okay, one more before I...
Yeah, I think me time was like, we had many questions on the me time. So that just shows the importance of, how important it is for us to take those little breaks, allow ourselves to take those breaks without a guilty feeling, and, sit down, have your cup of tea, read a good book, go out for your spa, and come back recharged, because I think you are only doing wonders for your family.
Yeah, and the last one I wanted to actually do before we take the live questions is, someone said, I have 2 boys and they make fun of girls, and when I try explaining to them that it's wrong, they say, Mama, you like girls because you are a girl. So how do I address that? So my answer to that is the fact that yes, you should say that you are a girl, but you finally have two boys. So you like yourself as a girl, but you have two boys, so you love boys also. And get that reinforced by your husband, because they want the husband also to say the same thing. So even he needs to say that. He says, I like girls, I like your mother, I like you, and I like myself because we are boys. So try creating a gender neutral family and ensure that, you know, the chores are divided, as we've said it earlier, and we'll keep saying it again. And those, tell them that these are life skills. You know, it's not something that mama does or something that papa does. Yeah. So please ask questions. Any more questions?
Yeah, I think there's a live question that has come in,
Yes.
wherein the question is, how do you get husbands to share the load if the parents or in-laws are around, you know?
Yes.
Because they,
So,
I think, come from a different generation who still thinks that, you know, women does a certain set of job, and just the case of Indra Nooyi, actually, you know, whoever
exactly.
she is, but for her mother, she's just a woman who needs to take care of her family.
And just to add, her mother would have been the one who would have pushed her to reach that job, right? Would have educated her, is helping her run the house. But even then, you know, when it comes to that last tipping point, she still is stuck in that thing that the wife needs to take care, right?
Right. So, you know, how do we get the husbands to share in such a scenario when the parents are living with you?
Correct. So someone again talked about perfecting parent. Perfect parent is a myth. Absolutely. There is only good enough parenting. There is no perfect parent, because there is no end to perfection. Then you are at that stage, then the next stage, then the next. It's like nowadays, sometimes in schools, we get 110% in our exams. How do you get 110% in an exam? And then the kids are only trying to get 100% and 110%. So, by the way, that's the other part. Please don't push your kids also to be perfect, right? Let them learn failure as you also learn failure. Let them learn it early in life, so that, you know, when they are adults and then face failure, because obviously once they are in the workforce, they will learn, they will have to face failures, then they should not break down, right? So perfect parenting is a myth. And please, in equal parenting, don't have a competition. Some of us love to be competitive, so don't compete with your husband. He's your spouse, he is a person you're married to, right? You're not in a competition with your spouse.
One more live question has come. How do you initiate such conversations at home? How do you start it?
So that's what we said, right? You start the playbook. You start the thing saying that, okay, these are these 4 buckets that we have, this work we need to do. How do we work it out? So start with the conversation. Start with, I think career is what we understand the best. So you talk about the career. You put forth your view, get your husband to put forth his view, then work out that if these are your goals. And as I keep saying, if you see my logo, I actually didn't put it here. My logo is that of a tortoise. And I feel that, and we are called step up parenting. So take a step at a time. It doesn't matter. You know, you will reach there. You will reach the final goal. So go slowly, figure out how it works, have conversations, because you can't push your ideas onto your husband's or the other way around. We forget, and as I was telling Manimala just before, we are working, okay? We work with teams, we lead teams, we are part of teams. When we do teamwork in office, we know how to get work done. We know how to get work done out of people. We know how people get work done out of us. But when we enter the house, I think we just forget all that.
Teamwork.
That, as I was saying, Manimala, we think that our husbands understand what we want. They know what we are feeling. All a myth. They don't. So please say. And as I told you about the, the marketing buying the vegetable story, they don't know it. So please put it down in black and white. So start the playbook, write it down.
And I think even we don't.
Yes.
Probably even we don't.
Right?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
So put it down in black and white. Because as we do at work, where we only when we put it down in black and white, have presentations, do a PPT or do an Excel. We love doing these, right? So put it down, put your views, say this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. In the timetable, I think first you put down your career path, the thing that you know, when you're going to be working, when you're not going to be working. Put a bit of the me time. Some of you all are singers, dancers, you'll go for your recreation. Plot that in. Then it is left the household and childcare, because we are in India are lucky that we have servants, in-laws, parents to help us. When we were in London, as I said, 3 years back, we were in London. So all this while we lived in India, and suddenly we landed up in London. 6 months my husband lived without me. And that's when he learned all his skills. So it takes time. Don't be in a hurry. Don't lose your temper. The other thing, sometimes we get really, we want to kill our husbands.
Someone asked the question also, actually, about the anger part. How do you express anger?
Yeah, and you remember in the other talk, someone was saying that I just want to kill my husband. She is pregnant and she wants to kill the husband. So take time off, walk away from the fight, cool down, do what works with you, listen to music, soak in a tub, or just walk away. You can't walk outside because it's not there. The other thing, I do healing, pranic healing. So what I tell people is touch your heart chakra. And the moment you feel angry, we were taught to count to 10. Instead of just think of that person, bless the person with loads and loads and loads of love. Because finally, it's your spouse. You need love, right? You have these crystals, pink crystals. You can keep that. Use the crystals to bless them. So every time you're angry, just bless them with loads of love. And you will find that the atmosphere in your house has changed. So someone asked, how do we do good enough parenting? How do we know we are good enough parents? So linked to that, just think about the atmosphere in the house. You can even have something called an emotion meter. So you make a scale, an emotion scale, okay, from very happy, all the way down to sad, angry, okay? And you have 2, 3, 4 spokes, depending on how many people are there in the house. And it's a small child, right? They can put it up. Your husband comes back after a bad day. He need not tell you anything. He can just put very angry on that emotion meter, and you know that you need to stay away. You need to be nice to him. So I think it's a good visual way of knowing it. And your child also, as part of positive parenting, knows that these are all the emotions that are there. I can go through all of them, but I need to know how to express that, right?
Okay, one more live question, Sharmila.
Yeah.
Is that the spouse thinks that, the easiest way to keep the child engaged is screen time. So how do you, get him to spend more quality time with the child then?
Yeah. So screen time is obviously, for us, it's the nanny for us. And we think that, the child is learning a lot from there. Let me tell you, and especially those who have young children, there are studies conducted that even if you have the best programs, learning programs that you buy and make your child listen to that, developmental psychology says they need human interaction. So you need to interact with the child. You need to read books. You need to play games with them. You need to teach them how to interact, have social skills, emotional skills. See, with the screen, with the computer, the person is just watching, right? And then that is what leads to even ADHD and those kind of things later, because then their attention span becomes so less. They're watching cartoons, right? So every second the screen is changing. So they are learning
The
that
brain is like constantly.
entertainment, right? Yeah. So the brain just needs that kind of stimulation, right? It's on steroids then. Then they are not able to do calming things. So work with them, do puzzles with them, read to them, show them a storybook, a picture book, ask them to tell you a story. So you say one line, they add on, do this interactive thing. Also, ask them to help you in the chores. When you're folding clothes, they can also fold clothes with you, right? When you're cooking, they
And
can
that's
be
a game for them, actually. Make it a game for them,
Yes.
folding the clothes.
And make this all a game. Don't say that it's a chore, because then they will hate it. Okay. On one of my programs, I had actually shared something called Super Brain Yoga, which, let me just show you, is like this. You go up and down, pulling your ears. It stimulates your brain, right? So if you all go on to my Facebook page called Step Up Parenting, it's there. But people kept asking, can it be used for punishment? I will punish my child and, it will stimulate their brain. And I was like, no, you can't do that, right? If you say it's a punishment, then they will not enjoy doing it. So similarly, don't call it a chore. Say it's a fun activity. Come help mama and we will make yum food for you. So make it something which is exciting. Okay? Like you are showing them a cartoon to excite them or teach them things. Do live demos. We love going for live demos, right? So we love interactions. What are we hating about the COVID? The fact that we are not able to meet people face to face. So you are their best toy. I know after some time it gets too much. So take some time off, give it to your spouse, the nanny, whatever else, but decrease screen time. It doesn't work. It's not too good. No more questions, I think.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Anything else, Manimala, you want to say? Huh. So,
nothing.
Rishika, one sec. She kept saying that
Okay.
we should outsource.
Huh.
So even when I do these parenting sessions, and I talk about EQ, SQ, life skills, the parents tell me the same thing, right? You are the expert. You do it. I'm like, okay, I will do it. But you are with them for the rest of their life. If you keep outsourcing it, it's like you're calling a consultant to do a job all the time. Then finally, you will find that you have not, there is no connection between you and your job because the consultant is doing the job all the time, right? So just on that angle. So do that, because that is what helps you forge deeper bonds. Otherwise, they will forge bonds with the outsourced person. There are so many of kids I know who are so attached to the nannies because the nanny for them is their primary caregiver. So when the nanny is not there, so now in COVID time, lots of parents are having problems because for them, the nanny is not there. For them, that person. I will actually say for my dog also, we are in Pune, whereas we live in Bombay. So she is not seeing the cook and the maid who have not been coming. She is actually sad because for her, those are the people who she used to see, who were family for her and who would play with her. So the more you interact with your child, the more you create a bond. So if you outsource it, the bonds happen with the outsourced person. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Anything else, Manimala, you want to add?
No, I think we have covered quite a fair bit, and hope we could explain the importance of equal parenting and importance for the couple and for everyone. Okay, someone has sent in an anonymous question. What if someone laughs at the chore list? Yeah, I think household chore. When we have a family and when we have a house, we have chores, right? I mean, there's nothing to laugh about it. Either one person does it or 2% does it, and we have to sit down and have a talk. That the clothes need to be done, the dishes need to be done, right? So
Or maybe the person is laughing at the chore list because that person is overwhelmed that there's actually such a big chore list.
yeah.
You know,
and
they
and,
didn't
and, and
realize
if,
that there are
if
so
they're
many chores.
Yeah, and
You
if
know?
they are not used to doing those chores, they also feel that what's so difficult in these chores. And I hope after this COVID time, as Sharmila says, now that everyone is exposed to what household chores are all about, I hope they don't laugh at it anymore.
Yeah. And you all have given talks about, how to keep yourself cool and all. So I think we are doing one more session next month on mindfulness and, getting rid of stress. So we will talk about it then. And you all have also talked about developmental stages, kids, not feeding this, that. So
Right.
we would love to do more sessions with you all on this because, as you know, just this one topic we talked about equal parenting, and we've been talking for more than an hour. And I think beyond this, we can't, our brains also can't absorb so much information. So we would love to do more sessions, and we'll be glad to come and talk to you all whenever you all are ready to have
Yeah,
another.
those are totally separate topics than
Yes,
this.
absolutely. So Shweta, if any questions that you have for us?
You are muted, Shweta.
Shweta, you're mute.
Thank you for the lovely session, Sharmila and Manimala. We don't have any more questions, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more queries that will come out of this session. And we'll try to connect our audience again with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. And
Thank
I've
you.
got somebody
Thank you
else
for
calling
having
for
us.
it.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's thumbs up for the equal parenting journey. I just hope you all are all ready to take the journey. Yeah. Nice talking to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you and bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot,
Bye.
Shweta.
Thank you.